So the recording has started. From now on, you can find everything. I will send you the link to this recording after we finish today. So let me also introduce myself. My name is Hanne Knogaert. I work now for 6 years for the International Trade Center, and more specifically with the team on trade and market intelligence. For this training, our goal is to strengthen your market analysis skills and to actually introduce some tools to you that we offer freely to you, and we will go through them together and see how we can use them to our full benefit. You will see that everything will become very clear within this hour and a half. Let us begin by thinking about why should we be interested in international trade in general. There's two main reasons, because the global market is full of possible consumers for products, all sorts of products, many more than live within your country of residence, even your region. So making businesses grow and collecting export revenue depends on understanding trade, international trade, and reaching consumers in different countries. And this is what our tools are based on: understanding this international market and finding opportunities that we might not see directly in front of us. Secondly, businesses need inputs to produce their products, and they need to buy outside of their own countries so they can bundle the production and reach some global value chains. So it is important to find out where the largest distributors of your products are, and to understand what would be the most convenient supplier for your product. So that's what we will be focusing on today: how to find this, how to understand the best way to go about this. I'm sure you already have a lot of destination markets and information about your regional supply, etc. So I want to just look into how the tools can help you just look beyond what we already know, just broaden our horizons. All right, let me go to the next slide here. So I just want you to think about these questions that I'm gonna read to you now, because it's also one of the core reasons why we are doing this. So the first one would be, thanks to internet, sources of trade information are abundant. Business decision makers should not face any constraints in accessing to them and clearing any doubts. If you hear this sentence, do you think this is true or false? That thanks to the internet, everything is so available right now that there is no reason to doubt anything and everything's very clear. I think many of you would agree with me that the first part of the sentence might be true. Thanks to the internet, there's so much information out there, but at the same time, there's too much information. So it's hard to track down what is actually information that we can rely on, information that is clear and clarifies any doubt. So business decision makers do face a lot of constraints in accessing information and understanding what information to follow, which information might not be relevant. The second statement would be, thanks to modern technologies and processes, contents in all types of media go through serious quality checks. That is why nowadays we can rely on all sources of information. Again, if you hear this, you feel like something is off. I think it's quite clear that because of this amazing network of information, there's also a lot of unreliable information out there. There's not enough quality checks. So it's important to keep in mind which information is reliable, which information is not reliable. I have been going through some information that is already available on the Pacific Islands, on Tuvalu and Kiribati, and I saw actually that there's already a lot of information out there, reliable information, where your governments have been working with international organizations to set up easily accessible information. So that's great. So the quality information is out there, but again, information can be scattered. So that's where our information can actually complement the trade portals that are already present in those countries. So it's not to take the focus away from those portals. They're also very interesting, and they offer information on steps to take when exporting, etc. But we have the information from a global view and add to this information that is already available. So if you are aware of these portals, please do not feel like this would substitute those. I think they can work wonders together. Okay, let me go to the next slide. So the International Trade Center, let me go quickly over what we stand for. So we are a daughter organization of the United Nations Trade and Development Agency and the World Trade Organization. So we are an implementing agency where we work together with local, regional institutions and even companies on the ground to help them reach international markets, increase their trade capacity. So here you can read our mission statement to foster, which is to foster inclusive and sustainable growth and development through trade and international business development. This is what ITC stands for. Then, as I mentioned, I work for a part that is called the Trade and Market Intelligence team. So here you see a little bit of our focus areas. So part is providing trade and market intelligence. Some other parts are about strengthening the investment support institutions, connecting the international value chains. So we have a lot of different pillars. Our pillar is about providing trade and market intelligence, and that way we contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. I'll go also quickly over this one, is just to show you an example of everything we do. So what we will be talking about today is the global public goods. It's the pillar that you see here on the left. So it's all the different tools of information that are available, that we offer freely available, and you only need to register for one to be able to access everything at the same time. But next to that, we also go beyond the data, go beyond those portals, and we do some country surveys, we do some studies on trade potential, market access issues, and much more. And then we have a pillar on capacity building, where we train people in the field, trade communities, on how to benefit from all this information that we offer. So this is a part of that. The global public goods are actually a pillar that is sponsored by the European Union. So they make all this information freely available to developing countries. Other countries pay a yearly fee. You will see a little later who is all already using our tools, but here for now you see a little overview of all the tools that we offer. You see trade map, you see market access map, export potential map at the top. Those are the three that we will be discussing today. But then we also have the rules of origin facilitator. We have the market price information portal, which actually tries to give as much information as possible on prices in agriculture. So I invite you to also go take a look at that if that is something that is of interest to you. We have one tool that is called Standards Map, which goes beyond the legal framework of trade and looks more into voluntary sustainability standards. So fair trade standards, how you can get all these certifications for certain markets that might be interesting and asking for this type of voluntary standards. We have procurement map and we have investment map, giving you some information on international procurement and investment opportunities. Here you see that we reached actually the the goal of 1 million users of the market analysis tools 2 years ago. And users really range from Fortune 500 companies like the Coca-Colas of this world to small companies, but also to government agencies, business support institutions. So we really have users from all different sectors. And we are trusted by journalists around the world. We are quoted in the Wall Street Journal a lot, by The Economist, by Reuters, etc. So people really do rely on this information. Okay. I have lost my mouse. Okay. Let me go a little deeper into what I just said. So we will be discussing today 3 tools that you can use for your market analysis. The first one will be TradeMap, which shows you a lot about trade trends. It shows you a lot about which are the main importers of my product, who are my main competitors. You can look into growth numbers. You can look into some competitive advantages. So this is a very interesting tool when we look at the facts. Then we have Market Access Map, which we will be discussing after that, which shows you more information on how this market can be accessed through trade agreements, through tariffs that you might have to pay, through non-tariff measures you need to comply with to be able to enter into these markets. So that's what we will be discussing after that. And I want to look at Export Potential Map, which is a tool it shows less data and is more about the analytical side of this data, because we bring together information from all other tools, and we already analyze for you whether or not there is a potential in certain markets, potential for certain products. So we take into account information from TradeMap, Market Access Map, but we go way beyond that. We take into account geographical data, we take into account GDP projections, even COVID-19 has been taken into this equation. So Export Potential Map is actually a very interesting tool to start our analysis, because at the end of the day, it is still a theoretical tool. So it takes into account a lot of data, but we will have to look at the reality afterwards to make sure that we understand what are the constraints here, what is actually happening, and combine our potential assessments to TradeMap and Market Access Map, which reflects more the reality of today. So that's the 3 tools we will be looking at today. But as this slide already indicates, we need to talk about the harmonized system classification of our products, because we're talking about trading goods, and trading goods is actually a very good way to classify products. Services is a harder part. So today we will be looking at the trading goods, where we can talk about the harmonized system classification. I'll go to the next slide and show you an example of what this harmonized system classification looks like. I think most of you might already be familiar with this, especially the people here in the customs office, because the reason why we have this harmonized system classification is because we need to be able to compare products at an international level. So this classification has been set up by the World Customs Organization and allows countries to talk about the same product by using digits instead of words. So here we have an example of our coffee. And this harmonized system classification goes up until 6 digits. So as long as we have 2 digits, we're talking about the chapter level. The chapter level includes a lot of different products. So we have under 09, for example, coffee, tea, mate, spices is all classified under the 09 chapter. Afterwards, if we want to define our products more into detail, we separate this code and we add two extra numbers to it. So we have 4 digits, which we call headings. Then we can classify coffee under 0901. We can classify tea under 0902, mate under 0903. But this list goes on and on. There's many more HS4 codes underneath this chapter. So we call it HS4 codes for the headings. If we want to define these products even more into detail, we can go into subheadings, which has 6-digit codes. And here we can see that tea, for example, at an international level, tea will be defined as green tea less than 3 kilos, green tea more than 3 kilos, black tea less than 3 kilos. And again, this list can go on and on. So this is non-exhaustive. We are just looking at an example of what these codes might look like. Then, let me click again. Here we can see now that there's another level, the national tariff line level. And this is actually a level that is not defined at an international level anymore. So the national tariff line level uses the HS6 code up until 6 digits, and then countries can define these products even more into detail as they please. So why would countries do this? They will add digits because, for example, some countries might think it's important that green tea is defined at a more deep level because this is a product that is very important for their economy. And when we're talking about import tariffs, these tariffs are always levied on the importing country's national tariff line codes. So in order for us to look into the tariffs that we need to pay, we need to understand what are the national tariff line codes of a certain country we are exporting to. So that's why a country would specify their products more into detail and why we need to be aware of what these codes are. I will show you another example of what that might look like. For example, here we're still talking about our tea, and you can see here at the top the harmonized system code, so the international standard up until the green tea. But then you see the national tariff line codes can go from anything. China divides them into flavored or unflavored green tea. Japan does not define anything more and just adds 2 zeros for their customs to understand that there is no other definition below the harmonized system international standard. Here we can see that the US defines green tea under organic, other than certified organic. There might be other national tariff line codes that are not listed here, but you can see that every country just adds different types of numbers. Some countries even add 4 extra digits, 6 extra digits. They can add whatever they want, and they can even add letters to this. So it doesn't matter for our analysis. It just depends per country. Please, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand, or you can add a question in the chat, or I will reserve some moments to ask questions throughout the presentation. So please feel free to ask any question you might have. I want this to be an interactive session anyway, so feel free to ask if anything is not clear. Especially because the harmonized system is quite important for everything else that is about to come. All the tools work with this classification, so this is important to understand. There is also a chapter 99. This is the chapter that includes everything that cannot be defined under any other code. Sometimes this one is used by countries if they do not want to disclose specific information. For example, a country that exports planes, for example, often they only have one company that is exporting these planes. They do not want to give the full company information. So sometimes in the case of planes, often this will be the trade value will be added to the Chapter 99 because they do not want to disclose this type of information at the company level. So just to keep in mind. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that these codes change every 5 years. So now in 2022, we had a last change of this harmonized system revision. Why do these codes change? It's because products change. Sometimes there's new codes created, sometimes codes are removed because they're not important for the international trade anymore. Sometimes codes are taken together. So it's important to understand when we're looking at a code, what happened over the years with this code. Some countries still use the 2012 revision. Some countries already have adopted to the 2022 revision. So countries can use whichever revision they feel comfortable with. They just have to report on this, and then we are aware of what happened. But yeah, this has been reviewed every 5 years. For example, in 2007, we did not have a code for smartphones. And then in 2012, the code for smartphones was created. So it's an example, an extreme example of why certain codes did not exist before. I will show you in a bit. This is a screenshot of our trade map. I will show you in a bit where you can find this information. So I want to go over some theoretic concepts, but I think it would be better if we go live while we go through the tool, so we understand where we can find it immediately, because 90 minutes is not a lot of time and there is a lot of information that I want to share with you. So please feel free to stop me at any time if something is not entirely clear. I just want you to be able to find your way through these tools because they're quite exhaustive, they're quite large, so we can keep going for a few hours, maybe days, if I don't have my limited amount of time. So let me change my screen towards my live screen. Share. I hope now you can all see my web browser, because here, yes, here we can see trade map. Let me go to the home page. Okay, so here we have trade map, which is our first tool of today. I want to clear everything so we can see the minimum amount of information possible. Okay, so here we have the button home and search. So whenever you feel like you don't know anymore where you are in the tool, I always click on this one, so we can go back to this and we can set the parameters again, because we will see a lot of tables. They all look quite similar. So if we're not sure, we go back to the home and search and we can start fresh. The system remembers what you typed in before, as you saw just now. So yeah, it will be filled out automatically if you go back to the home and search. I'll go quickly over the tabs so you understand a little bit where to find extra information if you have questions. The product data availability page here at the top is quite an important one, because let me show you why. It shows you which countries report their data directly and which countries do not. Which years did they report, because some years they might report, some years they might not report. And you find this list that you can see now here on my screen. It's a list that is just ranked alphabetically. So automatically we see 5 years, but we can go back to 2002 to see which years have been reported. We have people here from Kiribati and Tuvalu. So let me go quickly to Kiribati and Tuvalu. You can see that a lot of countries still do not, sorry, I need to tell you the color code before. So the yellow information, the yellow boxes show you that the country did not report this data. The red boxes also mean the exact same thing. They did not report this data. But if it's in yellow, this means that we managed to reconstruct this data using mirror data. So if the box is yellow, it means that we have trade statistics for this country for that year, but we used all the partner countries that they traded with during that year, and we reconstructed what happened for that year for Afghanistan, where I am looking at right now. I think I might have to zoom in a little bit just for you all to be able to see clearly. Okay, let me know if this is still not very clear, but normally you should be able to see it better now. So the yellow boxes mean that we do have the information, but not completely realistic data, because as I mentioned, this is based on what countries have reported to be able to have been trading with these countries. Sorry, I'm looking for the K. Okay, I find Kiribati here. So you can see that over the years, Kiribati has actually been reporting well. There's 1 year that was missing, which is 2019, and 2021 is still not reported. Maybe there's some delay there, but we have managed to reconstruct the data based on the partner countries. So we do have the information available for Kiribati in our tools. Tuvalu. We can find here, and we see that Tuvalu, we have a little harder time finding the reported data. But as you can see here again, we have the mirror data, which shows you that we have been managed to reconstruct this data using partner countries' data. This is the data availability page. What I want to say about this is that we use the data that has been reported by these countries, meaning that we get the information from UNDP, we get information from UNCTAD, we get information from other international organizations that are collecting this data. If the data is not available, we try to contact the countries directly to work together with customs organizations to be able to find a way to report this directly. So I really hope that because of this webinar, now we have an ongoing partnership and we can start building this directly reported data together. So yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to be able to work together on improving those statistics. Let me go back to my trade map. The next button would be the reference material. So if you have any questions, you can always go to the frequently asked questions, the glossary, and very importantly, the harmonized system correspondences. So I said that this harmonized system code constantly changes. There's a little glitch here. Okay, so it constantly changes. So if you're not sure about whether you are looking at this code at the latest stage, you can always go back to the harmonized system correspondences and type in your code here, and you will find what happened to this code. For example, let me look at some fish. And we can see that for the frozen skipjack fish, which is for both countries quite an important fish, we can see that this code has changed in 2017. So before 2017, this one was called frozen skipjack or striped-bellied bonito. And as of 2017, it's the same name, but it's split into two. So we can see the second code is excluding some intestines of this fish. So it's more about which part of the fish we're talking about. Then in 2022, this extra code 030399 has been removed, and we're still talking about this 030343 frozen skipjack or striped-bellied bonito. So we're back to the previous code. So when we're looking at trade data, I don't think we will see much happening there. But another example might be cherries. If I want to look at what happened to the code with fresh cherries, we can see that until 2007, we just had one code for fresh cherries. And as of 2012, the customs organization split them up by fresh and sour, or fresh cherries excluding sour cherries. So it's just an example of how these codes might change. I see that there are some hands raised. Please feel free to ask your question.
Hi, Heng. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question on the data availability. I'm from Tonga. Yeah, nice presentation. I heard you mention Kiribati and Tuvalu, but you can please can you go back and see the Tonga data availability for the years?
Which country would you like to see? Sorry.
Tonga. Yeah. Under Tokelau. You see Tokelau, and we are under down in Tokelau. Yeah, that's up, go up. Yeah, that's Tonga. Go down. Tonga.
So
Tonga.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
the quality is not great. So I
Oh,
wasn't sure
okay.
if you were talking about Tuvalu or
Oh.
Tonga. Yes,
Yeah.
so here we can see as well that in the last
Sorry for
7
going
years.
back. Yeah.
So yeah, we have been having some difficulties getting the directly reported information from Tonga in the last 7 years, but we have managed to reconstruct this due to the problem.
So the yellow colors means that we did report, but can you repeat what's the meaning of the yellow color, please?
So the yellow color means that it can also be a combination, because it's called mirror statistics. So the yellow color means that we used partner countries reporting to fill out the gaps in reported data. So sometimes there's data reported, but there might be gaps. So we combine these two information.
Okay.
And that's what the yellow means. The yellow means that there is, so we have the information, but there might be some gaps in what happened.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Hey.
Thank you so much.
I think you answered my question. Yeah. Bye.
Was there someone else who raised their hand? I think I saw 2 hands. Okay, then I will continue there. I think I went over most of these practical things here. If you are curious about the data sources, you can find them here directly. The other tools you can find directly through here. So once you have an account, you can get access to all of this for free. And the button more shows you some information on terms and conditions, the subscription options and fees. But then again, most countries are receiving this information for free. Lately, it's also free for the European Union. So you can find the UN lists of developing countries and territories, developed countries and territories, the last information in our newsletters. You can find some video tutorials as well if you want to look into a specific topic. Some testimonial videos. And here at the right, you can, here at the right, you can create an account. So mine is already logged on, but once you go there, you can go fill out your information, you receive an email, and you will have to validate your account. And from then on, you can access all the information that we have available. And information is actually available already in 5 languages now, so French, Spanish, Arabic, and Russian as well. Let me go back to our homepage because I would like to go into the data now. Again, a little glitch. Remove the cherries. Remove that. Okay, I'm here. I see one hand is raised. Please feel free to ask a question. I do not hear anything.
Hi, Hannah, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now.
Yes, I hear you now. Hi, thank you for this important and very useful training. I'm Rukshan Malevana, joining in from Kiribati Fish Limited, who is sharing Kiribati Ministry of Commerce link. Thank you very much for the team from Ministry of Commerce for sharing with us. We are logging in from our own office. One question I have is that you have showed that there is a, in this website, there is a subscription fee. Is it a country-based subscription, or each and every individual or the organization can subscribe to this website? And I would like to know how much is the annual fee?
So I'm not 100% sure what the fee is, but as I mentioned, the European Union and developing countries and least developed countries can access these tools for free. So you can just register, your IP address will be noticed, and you will be able to, for free, you will be able to access all the information. So you do need to make an account, but you do not need to pay any fee.
Thank you very much. As far as I know, logging in from Kiribati uses Philippines IP, because we have still developing infrastructure for the internet access and IPC. So I don't think that Kiribati has its own IP address to generate, because the ISPs are relayed from Philippines. So for an example, if I try to access any of the website, it shows that I'm logging in from Philippines. So that might be a problem when you're logging in from Kiribati.
Well, the Philippines also has free access to our tools. So if it's the Philippines, there is no issue there. But if you do feel, if you are trying to register and you see that there's a fee being asked, you can always contact us by email, and our registrator will give you access, no problem. But normally you should.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
But it's a valid question for sure. IP addresses can be tricky. Okay. From here, let's go dive into the information. So this is actually trade map, which shows you a lot about the trade statistics, about trade trends. But what I like to do is before I start my analysis, I like to go to export potential map, just to have an idea of what are the sectors that show a lot of potential, what are the markets that show a lot of potential. So I want to dip my toe in export potential map. I will come back to this tool later to go more into detail, but for now, let's just take a look at what are the opportunities for Tuvalu or Kiribati. So this is our homepage. If we scroll down, so we have some information, we can go directly into products, markets, or exporters. But if we scroll down, we can fill out what we actually are interested in, and we will receive a guide from there. So let me fill out Tuvalu here. I'm an exporter from Tuvalu or business advisor from Tuvalu for exports purposes. I want to look at which products are interesting. I will click here on explore products, but you can see here at the left that there's already an untapped export potential of 17 million US dollars. So this is all products and all destination markets combined, and it shows you an untapped potential. So we call it untapped potential, which actually constitutes of, we calculate how much export potential is actually in the world for Tuvalu as an exporter. Then we deduct this with the actual exports happening from Tuvalu. And then we see that there is still the difference between our calculations and this actual exports is 17 million US dollars. As I mentioned before, this is a very theoretical system. The whole coding is it tries to take into account many different actors like COVID-19 projections, but for example, it cannot take into account droughts, political unrest. It cannot take into account very real factors of this world. So we always have to look into these numbers with a grain of salt, because we cannot just assume that there's a magical untapped export potential for Tuvalu of 17 million US dollars. Also, a very important thing to note here is that this is a projection for the next coming 5 years. So this is a projection now, actually it just has been updated last week. So this one is a projection for the next 5 years until 2027. What could be realized for Tuvalu as an exporter if all factors, if all barriers are removed, if all positive factors can be taken into account. I will show you later what are all the different factors that we do take into account, so you understand how we calculated this, more or less. But for now, let's say that there is untapped export potential of 17 million US dollars. I want to explore products for Tuvalu, and you come automatically to this tree map. Here in the left-hand corner, you have Tuvalu as an exporter. The market is the global market. And here you get a list of products that show a lot of promise. So you can see that for Tuvalu, this is clearly different types of fish. How to interpret this tree map? The dark part is the actual exports that have happened. So if we hover over this, we get like this little box. If I click on it, we can fixate it so we can move around without the white box following us. And you can see that the actual exports of Tuvalu were 11 million US dollars. Our calculated export potential was $25 million. And the untapped potential that we calculated is 15 million US dollars. So the 15 million US dollars is the amount that we could reach in an ideal situation. in the next 5 years. As you noticed probably, 25 million minus the actual exports of 11 million is not the 15 million US dollars, but it would be 14 million US dollars. So what happened here? This is a combination of many different numbers together. The export potential is a combination of all different products combined to all possible markets. So what we do is we add all these different combinations between markets with Tuvalu and products with Tuvalu. We combine them all and we add them up. But the thing is, if there would be a negative number in this list, we do not take this as a negative number. We just put a 0 because there is no negative export potential. Because if we're already exporting more than the export potential of our calculations, this means that you're actually doing very well in this market compared to our potential calculations. So this should not be a negative number, but should be a positive thing. So we do not take into account negative numbers. So sometimes this simple math does not add up entirely. Just whenever you see something like this, that means that there was some negative numbers in this equation. The whole right-hand side, so the lighter blue, means that is all untapped potential. So you see the dimensions between the two. There's more than half that is still untapped according to our estimations. If you want to click more, if you want to find more markets, then you can click on this button and you go into this specific product, Skipjack and Bonito, and you receive immediately a gap chart with the top 14 in this case. As you can see here in the bottom, you can see that there is a top 14 of potential countries for this product. We see Thailand showing a lot of export potential and still a lot of potential that has not been fully realized. But we also see the Philippines, we see Ecuador, we see Japan. So we see a lot of Asian partners. We see some Latin American partners. We see some European partners. So there's a lot of different opportunities here according to our analysis. And I like to keep the countries that I see here in mind, because sometimes these are not all the largest importers or our current largest destination markets, but there could be other reasons why these countries show up here. Maybe it is because in general, Tuvalu already has a good trade relationship with these countries for other products, but not yet for this specific fish. It also might be because some countries are growing very well their global imports of this fish, this skipjack fish. And then this will also maybe show up that this could be a potential partner for us, especially if there are trade agreements in place, also something that is being taken into account in this tool. So there might be many reasons why these countries show up. So that's why I said before, export potential map is an interesting start point, but we need to look into what is actually the reality to understand why these countries show up here. So it's just something that I like to keep in mind on the side. So I will continue working with this skipjack. It's also the same, like it also comes up as a very interesting product for Tuvalu, for Kiribati. So I think this could be an interesting example of how to use the tools. But again, you can use these tools for any product that you want. So it's just a matter of finding the right harmonized system code in the tools. I'm going back to my trade map homepage because now I know more or less what I'm looking at. I see that there's a hand raised, so please feel free to unmute yourself and to ask your question, please.
Thank you, Anne, for that very comprehensive presentation for this training. Just an additional comment on the export potential. My question is, how would we use the tool to help our exporters to explore other markets, especially under the free trade agreements that we are currently implementing on PESA Plus? So we're looking at the Australian market and the New Zealand market for export of fish. How do we go about to do that on the tool?
So what you are talking about would be the market access conditions. What I meant before with what I really liked about your trade portals is that you really already line out all the different steps locally that you need to take to actually export. But market access map, so the third tool that we want to discuss today would talk about the market access conditions. So the trade agreement you are talking about is also included in this tool if it's already active. If it's not active yet, it might not be there. So it's in our other tool. Okay, let me just quickly look into this because it's just supposed to be here. So this is our third tool. It's about the tariffs, the trade agreements, non-tariff measures. I want to look at the trade agreements here. So we have some different modules. The Analyze module shows you the trade agreements. Okay, select the country. So let's say Kiribati for this example. As an exporter, I want to look at the in-force trade agreements and I search. And here you can see the list of all the in-force trade agreements Kiribati is involved in one way or another. So you were mentioning the PASER. I thought I saw it somewhere. Ah, PASER Plus, that's the one you were referring to, right? So this one has been enforced since 2020. If you click on this arrow down, you find more information. So you see which other countries are involved in this. So as you mentioned, this is Australia, but also a lot of Pacific Islands I see. Exactly, yeah, it's a Pacific Island agreement. So yeah, this is the information on that part. Maybe you also want to look into the rules of origin that apply when you are exporting to Australia, for example. This is also included here, so you can find the chapters on rules of origin, because to be able to take advantage of these trade agreements, you need to be able to prove that your product comes from Kiribati in this case. So you need to certify your product on the rules of origin, that it comes from Kiribati. So these chapters and the rules that are applied, you can find here. It shows you also in detail what your product needs to comply with, like how much percentage of a manufactured product needs to be origined in Kiribati. For fish, it's probably easier to determine whether or not the fish is from Kiribati. With a manufactured product, it's a little more complicated, but all these rules are shown here. Even the amount of Kiribati residents that need to be present on the boats when these fish are being fished, it's all stated here in these rules. If there is some customs administration, all the legal texts you can find here. So this tool is really a starting point for you to find the information. We don't have in detail steps to take how to actually go about this. that's actually something that I think is very well described in the trade portals of Kiribati and Tuvalu. But I think that's where our tools really match together. From here, you go into, let me, yeah, these are the certificates of origin. Yeah, it's the example of a certificate, but we need to, I cannot find the link. Maybe let me go. Now I'm already going too fast, so I'm sorry for people who cannot follow where I am in the tool right now. Let me try here. I'm not sure if it's going to pop up, but we're talking about Kiribati as an exporting country. So now I'm on the homepage of this tool. So the only way you can use this homepage is if you have all the parameters you need to fill all of this out. So you need to already be able to select the country you're interested in. So you said Australia. I want to target Australia with the fish.
Fish. Yeah.
I search. And here, remember I spoke about the national tariff line codes. You see the codes that Australia uses for these products. So here we can see that Australia added 2 zeros, so they don't define this fish into more detail for their tariffs. So their tariffs are levied on this one, but here, that's what I was afraid of. Australia is not, their duties are already 0 for the whole world on this type of fish, so you cannot see what that would mean within the trade agreement we were talking about, but we can export to Australia without paying any tariffs. So the trade regime is not very relevant in this situation. Let me try another product. I remember Tuvalu. Let me go to trade map and look at some other products Kiribati is exporting to Australia. So this is a good exercise to look into trade map actually. So you want to understand more about what are the top products that Kiribati is exporting. Then we fill out the country here. We want to look at all the products. So the product group we leave empty. We want to look at exports. So we click here on exports. And you can look into trade indicators. So these indicators is the latest here available in trade map, combined with indicators that we already calculate for you to be able to analyze the raw data more easily. If you prefer the raw data, you can always go to the yearly time series, the quarterly time series, or the monthly time series. But some countries only report a yearly time series. There's not that many countries that report up until the months. But yeah, these ones show you the raw data as reported. The trade indicators make it easier to compare in a table. So here you find a typical table you will find in trade map. So right now we are looking at the list of products at the 2 digits level exported by Kiribati in 2021. So that's the latest year available, since 2022 is still happening. But here you see that we are talking about mirror data. So this data is constructed on the basis of partner countries of Kiribati, or a combination of reported data with the data reported by other countries. So I want to look at the exports trade indicators by product, but I want to look at the 6-digit level. So I click on the 6-digit and we get a more clearly defined list here. And again, we see our frozen skipjack or striped belly bonito coming up as the top export product for Kiribati. But we see that there's also a lot of different products, like more complicated products like tankers. We also see coconut oil, copra. So let me look into vacuum pumps. Okay, let me look into what we are trading between Kiribati and Australia. So I fill out Australia here. And then we can look into the bilateral trade. So we see that maybe turbo propellers will show more information on this trade agreement. So I fill out the code here on the home page of Market Access Map. I search, I get a list of the national tariff line codes that are underneath this HS6 level code. It's again one code only. And we again get a tariff line that is for the whole world, a 0%. So I need to find a different product. What else? Let me try this with a few other products. I just want to show you this. Australia does not levy a lot of taxes, import taxes, I see. Let me go a little deeper. Maybe wooden furniture would be something. Yes, now we have one. So here we see the national tariff line codes. Again, they only have one national tariff line code. So that's easy to interpret. And then we get a list of all the tariff regimes we can take advantage of when exporting this wooden furniture to Australia from Kiribati. You can see that it's updated up until 2022, the tariff year. So it's very recent. So what is the MFN duties? I'm not sure if everyone is aware of what MFN duties are and why I kept searching. MFN duties are short for most favored nations duties. So countries that are WTO members, so members of the World Trade Organization, they make the commitment to give everyone in the whole world the same treatment, which is called the most favored nations treatment. So if Australia says that they are levying 5% tariff on wooden furniture as an MFN duty, that means that the whole world will pay 5% import duties on this wooden furniture. The only exception to this is if there is a trade agreement in place. But as we know, trade agreements come with rules of origins, and we need to certify these rules of origins. So in this case, for example, 5%, it might be actually more beneficial to pay the 5% than the 0% if certain certifications are quite expensive as well. So sometimes there's a bigger difference between the MFN rate and the preferential rate, but it's important that companies understand that this first line is the line that everyone else pays. And the next lines are about the trade agreement. So we see that Kiribati gets a preferential tariff of 0% under the trade agreement for foreign island countries. So I want to understand what this means. So I click this open. And we can see that there is a little bug there. It's not coming up, the information there. Okay, but I can see that this is a preferential tariff that Australia is giving to a lot of its neighbors as well, Fiji, New Zealand. So here is the information on that. If you see a little link sign, you can actually click on this and you go directly to the Australian Customs, where you can no doubt find more information on this. But they also receive a beneficial tariff rate under another scheme, which is a preferential tariff for GSP countries. So this is the generalized system of preferences countries. Yeah, it's a group. The EU levies a very similar one, where it gives some preferences to developing nations. And again, you can find in WTO notification the full text of the agreement. So you can see that there's 4 different agreements. And here we find the PASER plus 1. So the most recent one. So you can take advantage of any of these trade agreements, because what the market access map actually does is already look for you into these agreements and whether or not these agreements are important for the product you are looking for. So that's why when we were looking for different products before, nothing showed up, because for these products, there was no preferential treatment. So these ones show up now because for these wooden furniture, you can take advantage of some of these preferences. How do you decide which of these preferences you want to use? You need to look into, for our specific product and for the wooden furniture, which one would be the most beneficial for you to use, like which one would be maybe easier to find certificates for, which one would be asks for the least requirements to be able to take advantage of this 0%. So it's important to understand which of these trade agreements in this specific situation is more interesting for your product. I hope I gave an answer to your question, because as I mentioned, we don't have the full list of steps to take, but we do have links to the information, and then you can go from there.
Thank you, Anne. That really helps, because as you mentioned, there might be certain products that have import duties from our trading partners, and we could use our free trade agreements with them. Other products, they have 0 rated. As for Kiribati, there are 0 rated duties. So for imports from our trading partners, they'll be given a 0 tariff rate. So it's pretty much the same with us, except that all the tariff lines have been reduced to 0. We don't have any duties to protect our local industries, especially on those specific tariff lines that we are currently exporting, especially with the 0304 products and other coconut products. In terms of the import from our trading partners, I guess just an observation that we have our business community with us who are also participating in the training. This is a very useful tool to look at some of the countries where they can import quality products from them. So it's just to encourage them to use the tool, as it is very important for identifying which market they would need to import their products from.
Yes, we can definitely look into that through a trade map, for sure. I see one more hand raised, so please unmute yourself. Otherwise, yeah, okay.
Hi again, hey.
Hi.
Yeah, just a question following to the question of the Kiribati from Kiribati about the free trade agreement we have with the base of less. I think recently effective I think last year or this year the base of less with Tonga. Yeah, because we have a program of the cover pilot currently running, but I just have a few questions of how can we find the market opportunities from Australia and New Zealand and also America.
So
So I had to look on
if
the
you're
market
in-
assessment or
sorry.
the market assessment.
So yeah, if you want to look into how Australia is,
Potential market in
yes.
Australia, New Zealand.
So if you want to look into Australia, so this is really about when you already know you want to export to Australia, right? But
Yeah.
if you want to look into whether or not Australia is an interesting market for the product you are actually exporting,
Yeah.
let me go back to the home page here. So I'm gonna take a note that I will look into how you can look into the import side
Yes.
for the question of before. Okay, let me go back to the home and search. Okay. So actually that is what I do. So we looked into where is it? We looked into potential markets. We do see that Australia is in this top 14 list of potential markets for Tuvalu. I think, pretty sure it's also for Kiribati for the same product. You see Australia is there as well. So let's look into what Australia is actually doing for this product. Okay, let's start by filling Australia out. So we just want to see what Australia is doing at a global scale. So we want to look at Australia's imports. We want to look at all the products for now. No, let's look at the fish. Yeah. And we want to look at all partners of Australia at this point regarding this fish. So again, here at the top, you can verify if you're looking at the right thing. So we're looking at the fish, Australia, all partners. We're looking at the imports of Australia. We want to look into the trade indicators to help us determine the trends happening there by country, and we look into the direct data. If a country did not, if a country has mirror data, it will show up in yellow in this list. So we can see here a little summary about Australia. So we are getting a list of supplying markets of the fish we were talking about by Australia in 2021. Australia's imports represent 0% of the world imports for this product. Its ranking in the world imports is 41. The product code selected above has been reallocated in 2017, which we saw before. So we saw that some changes happened regarding this product code, but nothing very remarkable. So we can see that actually Australia is not importing this frozen skipjack a lot at this point. Maybe that's why it was not as one of the first countries in the list of export potential, even though it shows a lot of export potential, also because of geographical considerations. And at this point, we can see that it's getting its frozen skipjack from Thailand and Indonesia. So this list is ranked according to the trade value. So here, this is actually quite a low trade value. The first row here shows you the world imports. So the Australia's imports from the world for this product. And we can see that there's 258,000 US dollars imported in 2021. So you always, whenever you look into the numbers here, you need to think about 3 zeros behind the numbers. So it's always in US dollars, 1,000. So most of this comes from Thailand, and a little more than 1,000 will be coming from Indonesia. We can see the trade balance. It's not very important. The trade balance just means that if it's a negative number, these countries are importers. If it's a positive number, these countries are even larger exporters, because imagine Thailand exports even more of this, a different, I'm in a different table in my head. So if this is a negative number, this is a negative number for Australia. So Australia is importing more than it is exporting of this product. That's why it's negative. This is showing you the share. So we can see that 99% is coming from Thailand, as I said. This one is showing the share of Australia in partners exports. So this one is blank. It means that there might be some information missing there. Otherwise, it would say 0. But for Indonesia, we can see that Australia's share in the partners exports in general is 0.1%. So this one is about all the different countries, all products, sorry. The quantity imported in 2021 is in tons. So you can see the value and the quantity. So again, this is not a lot. This is 253 tons in 2021 for Thailand. We calculate a unit value, which is the value imported divided by the quantity imported. This is not a price, because there's many things that are not taken into consideration when we're talking about a price. You need to take into account the size of packaging. You need to take into account the transportation costs. So this unit value is more to give you an idea of the unit per, the value per unit. But then we get to 3 very interesting columns, which shows you a lot about the trends happening for the situation you're analyzing. So you can see here that the first one is growth in imported value between 2017 and 2021. So this is the yearly growth over 5 years' time. So this one shows you actually a lot about what happened to this product over the last 5 years. And we can see that in general, Australia's imports of this product has declined at 9% in general, and -8%, and with Indonesia probably something similar. So its imports are declining overall. The next column shows you the growth in imported quantity between 2017 and 2021. So this is the quantity, and the imported quantity is even declining faster. So if the quantity is going down even more than the value, it means that each fish that is coming into this market is becoming more expensive. If this number in this column is higher, the value number is higher than the quantity growth, it means that this fish is becoming very expensive on the market of Australia. But then something remarkable happened here, because the last column of those 3 is the growth in imported value between 2020 and 2021. So you can see that in the last year, suddenly the exports from Thailand of this fish towards Australia are booming at 284%. So this is a very large number for 1 year. And I think there is more research needed to understand what happened. Is this maybe because of the COVID-19? Maybe the imports of this fish declined so much that the overall view of the last 5 years went down at -9%. But now between 2020 and 2021, this is recovering and growing at 262% on average from the world. This is something that we would need to investigate. So for this specific product, I feel Australia is quite complicated for my example, because normally we will have more suppliers to this market to discuss and to see whether how we are doing next to them. I will go over the trade indicators because they will come back with every table we look at. So I'll just continue right now, and then we will continue analyzing the rest of the information in this table. So we see that the ranking of the partner country in the world exports is also mentioned. So we can see that Thailand is number 32 in the world exports of this fish. So it's actually not one of the largest exporters of this fish. It only has 0.1% of the world's export share. And its exports are declining at -17% at a global level over the last 5 years. So Thailand is not doing great regarding this fish. These next few columns are actually very interesting columns when we're talking about competition, because it shows you how far the countries we are talking about are from their partner countries. So we can say that we are closer than they are to their average partner, or we are further away. For example, here we have Thailand as an exporter to Australia. We see that Thailand on average is 5,422 kilometers away from all its destination markets of this fish. And then we need to investigate where we are in this equation. So the distance between Kiribati and Australia is 6,592 kilometers. So we are very close. So it's not like Thailand has a little distance advantage, but not that much. That is how you interpret these numbers. Indonesia is a little closer, but again, is not exporting that much. So in this case, the distance does not seem to matter that much. The next column shows you the concentration of importing countries. So this is the Herfindahl index. So if this number is below 0.1, we are talking about concentrated, we are talking about diversified markets. So if it's less than 0.1, it is a diversified situation. There's many players into this market. If it's between 0.1 and 0.18, we have a moderately concentrated situation. And once it's over 0.18, this is a very concentrated market. And this is actually confirmed here. So 0.42 shows you that the Thai distribution of this fish is very concentrated. Same for Indonesia, same for Chinese Taipei, and so on. The next one is the average tariff that Australia is applying to these countries for this fish, we see that it's 0%. As their MFN tariff was 0%, they have to give the same 0% to everyone. So this makes sense. If you click on this, you go directly towards a market access map. Here, there is an estimation of untapped export potential, and these are linked to our export potential map. But you can see that below our two exporters of fish, we see a list of countries not alphabetically ranked that show no value in their exports to Australia. So how are these countries ranked? They are ranked according to their global exports of fish. So this is the list of top exporters of this fish to the world. So you can see that here in the ranking of the partner countries, this goes from the first one, which is Chinese Taipei. Spain is also the second largest exporter of this skipjack. Micronesia, third one, etc. So we can scroll down and maybe we find Kiribati and Tuvalu. So we can see that Kiribati is actually the largest, the 9th largest exporter of this skipjack already. And Tuvalu, the 18th. So they're actually in the top 20 exporters of this skipjack. If we go and look a little bit deeper into the next columns, you can see that Kiribati at the moment is not over the last 5 years. This can again include COVID-19 situation. So over the last 5 years, Kiribati has on average declined 12% per year. But here in this list, we cannot see if it has already recovered from this COVID situation or not. But if we look into Tuvalu, we see that Tuvalu is actually growing very well at 20% on average each year over the last 5 years. So Tuvalu is growing very well, but we see that it is also very concentrated. Kiribati is also a very concentrated supply scheme. So maybe we should look at all countries and at exports to see the situation more into detail. So this, once we remove Australia and we add all exports of this fish, we can see that the same list as we were looking at before now just shows up with all the information in all the columns. So again, Chinese Taipei is the top exporter of this fish. Spain follows, and Micronesia is third. If we go down to Kiribati, we can see that there is a trend, and it's still a similar trend in the last 2 years, that the exports of this product is going down. If we go to Tuvalu, we can see that even in the last 2 years, its exports of this fish to the world is gone up at 151% in the last 2 years. So that's huge. But again, we're talking about mere statistics, so always take the mere statistics with a grain of salt. If we want to look at which are the current destination markets for this product, for Tuvalu, for example, we click on Tuvalu, it's filled out here at the top automatically, and we get a list of the importers of this product. So we can see that actually Thailand is importing our skipjack and then re-exporting maybe to Australia, because Thailand is one of the largest suppliers of this fish to Australia as well. So this could be the case for this. Philippines might be a similar thing. So it would be interesting to investigate this further, whether or not we could supply maybe Australia directly, enter into this market. So why is Australia in this list of Kiribati, if we are doing so bad with this fish, for example, but it's still showing as one of the top destinations with a lot of potential. So maybe it's because we do have this plus trade agreement and we already have quite a good trade relationship with this country for other products. So maybe I want to look into that without looking into the fish. Then we play around with this here at the top. We say Kiribati with Australia. We're looking at exports of Kiribati to Australia. I want to look into products at the HS6 level. And then we can see for which products these two countries are linked together. And we can see that turbo propellers of a power of less than 1,100 kilowatt seems to be the largest reason for their good trade relationship. Waste and scrap, instruments and appliances used in medical, surgical, or veterinary sciences. So these are the products that are already doing very well into these markets. So it's more specialized equipment than the fish we were looking at. But then again, we could always use this trade relationship to enter into these markets. So for Kiribati, this would be the table to look into. What else did I want to show you? Because I'm going over time. I think we received a lot of interesting questions, so I'm happy for that. But I've been jumping everywhere. So I think I will stop right here. No, let me quickly go to the home page again. So if you want to look at the importer side, so you want to figure out where you can get your equipment, for example, for a certain thing, you can look into, if you already know which product you are interested in, you go into export potential map. Export potential map, and you look at exporters. So now you receive, you will get a list of exporters of whatever you are looking at. So we're looking at the skipjack at the moment, but I feel like this is not, let's look at turbo propellers, because that seems to be a product that is exported by Kiribati in our example. So we are a market, Kiribati. There's no data available here. Tuvalu might be the same. Okay, so that's not an option. So let's look at the exporters of this turbojets. Turbo propellers, sorry. Exporters, you look into the trade indicators. And here, let's go into the HS6 level. So now we look at all the countries, exports, and the list is ranked according to the traded value. So here we see that Canada is the largest exporter, followed by Germany, the US, and this whole table is similarly set up as the one we were looking at before, but now at a global view of exports of this product. So we see that in general, the exports are going down, but the largest markets, some of the largest markets are doing very well, like Germany is growing at 34% on average each year. So they are doing very well in the exports of these turbo propellers. The UK is growing well, Spain, Poland, so a lot of European countries seem to be doing very well. India is growing at 54%. And in the last year, it grew at 123%. So the last year, some of these countries have been booming, like Germany as well. So here you can figure out who is doing well, who is doing less well, who is the largest exporter. If you want to look at more countries, because you don't have to look at the largest ones, but maybe there are some countries you have some good contacts with, you can look at how they are doing on this front. Before I leave you to it, I want to go into the company data because I think it's a very interesting starting point for companies to have a foot into a market. Sorry, I'm trying to look at some more countries within the region. Here's Kiribati. Thailand, Vanuatu, Philippines, yeah. So here you find the list of the countries and their performance in this sector. What I want to show you is companies, but I'm not sure. Okay, I thought you might have to select a country here you're interested in to find more information. So once you click on companies, you get a list of exporting companies available in TradeMap on the product you were looking at. So they might be categorized in different titles here, but under all these titles are interesting information for the product at this HS6 level code. And once you click on that, on the country, on the product category, you get a list of, I guess this is the global list of some B2B contacts related to your product. So you can look this up for any product that you are interested in. So also for the fish, you will get a list of fish traders. Again, I want to look at all the companies. You sometimes get a telephone number, a website. You can see whether or not there are large companies based on the number of employees. Turnover sometimes is disclosed as well. It really depends on what the company has allowed for us to publish. Our sources here are from Compass and from Dun & Bradstreet. So yeah, they're updated according to what they provide us with. This is not directly reported to us. Other than that, this tool allows you to manage some country groups. If you want to look into specific groups to group your information, you can create product groups here with your account. So please feel free to play around with that. I will have to finish my presentation here. I just want to go over the information again that is available here on Market Access Map. So we're still on a home page, which shows you an overview of all the information that is available inside Market Access Map. But the only way you can look up on the homepage is if you have all the relevant information here. So here I was talking about Kiribati exporting wooden furniture to Australia. So we see here all the different trade agreements, their tariff regimes. We see the trade remedies, if there are any. In this case, there's no trade remedies applied to our product in Australia. But here I see that there are no regulatory requirements listed here. That is because the data is not available for Australia, I guess. So let me try another country like Germany. Also wooden fish. No, let's take this one, which we were looking at before. Again, we can see Germany has 2-digit codes underneath this one, the HS6 level. We scroll down and we see that Germany actually has a lot of information on the terms under which you can export to Germany. So these are not related to any trade agreement. These are regulatory requirements that you need to comply with to even be able to enter into these markets. So non-tariff measures are legislations you need to comply with without taking into account any trade agreement. So for example, this can be about labeling, this can be about packaging, some hygienic requirements, microbiological criteria, some testing, you need to get some certification, inspection requirements, traceability requirements, etc. So you can click them open. Let's try the labeling one. You can click them open. You will find some information on this non-tariff measure. You can find out which authority is requiring this this measure, and there's always a link towards this authority or a document with even more information if you need that. So we try to keep this as updated as possible, but I saw that there's no information for Australia. I hope that through the Customs Authority of Australia, you can find this information directly. And there was a link to the Customs Authority of Australia here in the tariff regime. So you can find your way to all the information. You sometimes just need to be a little bit creative if the data is not available directly. But we do combine all the information from all other organizations. We try to add our own if not available. So this is really the most exhaustive tool you will find out there. Same for TradeMap, we combine all the information that is available in other places and try to be as exhaustive as possible. I think I will stop my presentation here. I hope everything is clear. I don't see any raised hands anymore, so I hope I answered all your questions. Last thing I want to show you is that all these tools are reachable through one portal, which is called the Market Analysis Tools portal. I'm going to put it in the chat here, but I will also write it in my follow-up email. So here you can also register, so you can access all the tools. I will send you the slides of this presentation as well, so you have the information. I will share the recording with you if you want to review any of the topics that we discussed, and I will also share some video tutorials if you have some very specific questions on how certain parts work again. So thank you very much for joining me today. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now so I see you all better. Yeah, so please feel free to write to us if you have any question as well. I'm gonna write our email address here at the bottom, marketanalysis@intrasend.org. We pride ourselves in the fact that we answer within 2 days. So please do not hesitate to put any query here. We also are active on social media, so we can also answer there any of the questions you might have. Thank you very much for following today. I hope everyone is having a great evening, afternoon. I'm not sure what time it is there now, but thank you very much.